All right, our guest speaker is Kerry Overfelt. I think a lot of you already know him. He's also known by his friends as KO, is the owner of Darkside Athletics in Bardstown, Kentucky. Kerry is 54 and has been competing in the games since 1998. Turned pro in the games in 2003 and competed until 2019. He is the current athletic director for Southern Kentucky Highland Games, Middle Tennessee Games, and Central Kentucky Games, home of the Masters National Championship at Indianapolis Highland Games. So let's give it a round of applause.
First of all, I want to thank you all for having me up here. It's very far and few between that I get to stand in front of people and actually talk about what I call one of the boringest sports ever. So I do, appreciate y'all doing it. I know we got some mouths open. That's because y'all haven't done the games as much as I have. Do really want to thank you all so much for having me. It is an honor to be up here talking in front of you all, and I hope that you guys leave tonight with knowing a little bit more about the games than you came in knowing. So that was a little bit of my bio and how that started. What you don't know is how I got to that point. I grew up really poor kid, rural Kentucky, farm kid. All you knew is work, and that's what you did every day. You didn't know any different, and that was fine. Always had a roof overhead, had a loving family. So I always think I'm very blessed the way I grew up because it taught me so many lessons in life. Nothing was easy for me, and I look at that now. Actually did a podcast yesterday with a guy, 2 days ago. Michael Lewis, he's from up here in Louisville. He's doing a podcast. Again, we'll go over that, what a podcast is if some of y'all don't know. It's called Rally the Tartans, and it's all about just everything Highland Games. So if you all come across that, you want to give him a listen. I think he's doing a really good thing. And like I said, he is up here in Louisville. I told him about the Scottish Society and how he should come by, see you guys, maybe talk, chat. But that podcast, I'm not sure when it comes out, but he asked me a question on there the other day, and it said, he said, what would you change? What would 18-year-old KO tell himself to change? And I said, nothing. And the reason I said that is if I would have changed a lot of stuff, then I'm not who I am today. And I'm one of those people that I want people to look at me and say, he was a good person, he helped me out, he was a good friend, he was loyal. I don't care if they say anything else. I don't care if they talk about my athletic attributes or me owning a gym or any of that other stuff. I wouldn't be that person if I didn't go through the trials and struggles that I did at a young age. And so going back to the beginning, that's kind of how I started out. I would have never gotten where I got, actually, if it was not for this society. So I need to thank you all personally right now while I'm standing in front of all of you. Turning pro in the Highland Games it's one of those things where you kind of make the decision to do it, but you don't want to be the ugly girl at the beauty pageant. And what I mean by that is, if you get out there on the field and you're not adding up to these other pros, it's noticeable fast. So you got to work your way up. And so through the reins of working my way up, and how I got obsessed with this, I don't know, but I did. When I got done playing college football at Campbellsville University, I needed something to fill the void of competition. Coaching just wasn't going to do it. I needed something for me. Brett Underwood owned a gym in Glasgow, Kentucky. Rest in peace, Glasgow Games. One of the greatest games that I thought in the nation, and I can honestly tell you all right now, there's nobody in this room that's been to more Highland Games in this country than I have. All over, from California, Seattle, Portland, everywhere, and Glasgow was one of the top games, and it was because societies, clans, just like you all have. But getting back to that Glasgow game, starting out there, I worked my way up. A guy named Brett Underwood got me into the games, started doing it, really fell in love with it. Funny, because I'm 0% Scottish. Native American and German are my descent, and that's the other beauty of Scottish athletics and Scottish societies.
We can fix that.
Damn.
So at about 2000, 2001, I believe, if I'm right here, showing my age here. 2001, they had it was the 5 best amateurs in the country. We're going to go to Scotland to take on 5 Scottish amateurs, and it was a big 10-day trip. So, of course, I'm super excited to go to Scotland, where it all began. Really pumped up about it. There's a catch.
Money.
Yes, money. Pat knows it well because of Pat, I was able to go. She had seen me compete several times. I talked to her many times. She was very, very gracious in helping me raise this money to go over. Of course, the ticket, it was expensive. You were going to be over there for 10 days, so you just can't just have bottled water all day. So needed food to eat, a lot of things. And at that point in time, I had just stepped down from my teaching position at Bethlehem High School in Bardstown. And if you know anything about teaching, you'll also know your paychecks are very minute. They don't go very far once you pay rent and other things. So I needed this money to help me get over there. Well, because that Pat was able to make sure that I got this from the Louisville Scottish Society, it changed my life.
Well, a portion anyway.
Well, but that portion, if I didn't have that, we'd be here still. I'd be stuck. But it literally did change my life because of the generosity that you all showed. Because that transformed into me wanting to do it more. I wanted to turn professional. I never thought I would. I just thought I'd be a good amateur. And going over there, I met people, stayed with the Scots, and I will tell you this, I would not go back for one reason. To me, the food was atrocious. But second reason I would go back, still today, the best room temperature beer I've ever had in my life is in Scotland. They handed you a beer, and it was lukewarm, and I went, y'all got a fridge back? I mean, the better part was I had 13-year-old kids handing me these beers like it was just no big deal. They were bartending, and I'm like, what is going on here? So Scotland pole vaulted me into what I could do. The next, about 2 years after that, I turned pro. My first year I got really lucky because you have to be, there's so much brown nosing and butt kissing that goes on to get invited to these games, because a lot of these ADs at that point in time they didn't check the internet because it was pretty brand new in the early 2000s. You didn't have a lot of that going on. So you got invited off, they knew you. Well, I got lucky enough to get to 10 games, and that 10 games turned into 15 games. That 15 games turned into 20. And then at my peak, I was doing 25 a year for about 6 or 7 years. So
Wow.
it was grueling. If any of y'all seen a Highland game, you know we throw the big telephone poles. There's big stones that we'll throw. They're not the Atlas stones like the strongmen use, but they're a smaller stone. There's a 56-pound block weight that we have to throw. So it's hard on your body. And most people think, well, that's probably why you're so beat up today. No. Setting my 300-pound and 5-pound butt in a chair like this for 4 hours to fly to California is why that my body is probably so beat up. Riding in a vehicle for 8 hours to Charlotte to do Loch Norman games every single year for seemed like an eternity. Those are the things that got me, beat up. But with that being said, I would have never been to those places or done those things again had it not been for right here. So thank you all so much for that. I really do appreciate that. So she went over a little bit of my career as an athlete. One of the big things that we wanted to try and do, I'm only like maybe 4 or 5 people in the state of Kentucky that's done Highland Games, and I'm really the only one that's really done it very, very seriously. I think, as far as I know, I'm probably the only pro Highland Gamer out of Kentucky. There's not been any more. I did win in 2009. I did win a very coveted title, which is a national championship for professionals. So they only invite the top 10 in the entire country. So I was able to pull that one off by the skin of my teeth. But any win I'll take. Again, every bit of that is set up from the very humble beginnings that I started with and then going through. I don't know, without those beginnings, had Pat, been so nice to me to because I was taught growing up, first manners. You know, I always hear women and men will always say to me, please don't say ma'am or sir. I would love not to. That is what you got if you did not say ma'am or sir. So that stays in my head. Exactly. Force of habit for sure. So I think those things, again, are all kind of what brought this into a full fold. With all that being said, with that, I now do a lot of games. I judge a lot of games. I train a lot of athletes online. As a matter of fact, I'll tell this story on me. It won't sound very good. I was convinced this was Wednesday night. I was convinced it was tomorrow night. As I'm sitting in my recliner with my iPad and my readers doing a program for somebody and nothing but boxers, I happen to scroll over and see a message from Steve. See you shortly. So, iPad goes flying. I yell at my wife, Mel, I gotta go. I run into the closet, throw clothes on. I had planned on having some props up here and bringing some stuff in and be kilted, and yeah, that went out the window whenever I'm going up 65 like a madman, and thank God I didn't have to get a ticket. So I made it here on time, which was a plus. I'm big on, if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I do it. So I would have literally killed myself getting up here for you all to talk tonight. So hopefully you'll get something out of this. Scottish Games cannot survive without groups like this. When the athletics, and most of the athletes have no idea about that. I didn't. I did not until I started taking over and becoming an athletic director, where you actually have to, be in charge of people, which is, I always say my master's athletes, they're 40 and above, are the master's athletes. It is like daycare. It is literally daycare for older people when I have to deal with it. There's always something not right. There's always somebody complaining about something. It's always something with my older people. But they are the majority of Highland Games right now. It's become it's grown a little bit, but it's a hard sport to grow because it's hard. I mean, it's not easy. And you have to have the, physical attributes to do it well. So what I do now is I try to train a lot of these younger kids. I do online coaching with them, try to train them. I just had a lady, I think she is I'm trying to think, she's almost in Northern Kentucky. She came down the other day and I trained her for a while, so I still do all that. So I'm still very involved. And I will be honest with you all, I would have never, ever thought I would be involved in this to this day and still beyond. One of the reasons, and this was on my podcast a couple days ago, the guy said, what would you do if you had to sum up the Scottish Highland Games in a word? And I had to search a minute, and togetherness. That's what I came up with. I've never, ever been to a Highland Game. I've never been to a clan tent. I've never been to a society tent that I was not overly welcomed. I mean, just completely the friendliness, the inviting you in, whatever you all have, beer, wine, bourbon, food, anything that you all have, you will share. And there's a togetherness whenever you have a group like this, and it's rare, especially if you guys just get on the internet just for 10 minutes. I mean, you'll find nothing but negativity. You don't find all that at a Highland Game. It's an escape. I never thought I would look at it like that because it's just so cheesy and corny, and I'm not that person. But the more I do Highland Games, the more I see the goodness of people that are in that thing together. Everybody's in that festival together. Next weekend, if you have a chance, Middle Tennessee, September 6th and 7th. It is a beautiful venue. Pat will tell you they have it now. It's right on this lake. It's incredibly beautiful, and they have done a fantastic job of growing this game.
Where in Tennessee?
Hendersonville, sir.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I cannot think of the name of the park right now. They all work together. There's a park they have down there that's on a lake, and that's where they have a game at.
Rock Castle?
No, sir. It'll come to me here in a minute. But Middle Tennessee is a really good one to go to. The next one is just right down the road from you guys. Eminence, they have it at it's at a Ren Fair. So the advantage of that is you have a bar, and the second thing is they play music all day.
Oh, yeah.
All day long, they have music. If you like folk music, because it's a little different. But they have the bar, they have the music, and then I host the Masters National Championship. So what I do with that is Sanders Ferry. Yes. See, I knew I did. Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
When's the one in Eminence?
Eminence is September the 20th and 21st.
That's when we're passing around the thing to sign up and help the tent. We'll be
Yeah.
there.
So we will have on Saturday we have a fantastic announcer. His name's Buck Buchanan. He is hilarious, keeps the crowd involved, does a lot of stuff. Some of the main stuff is going to be right over where you guys should be able to see if y'all have the same tent set up. I might be talking out of turn. I don't know where they're going to set you up this year. And I have talked to the owners of the place several times about improving stuff for the clans, the society, anybody that's bringing and setting a tent up. So it's a great game to go to. It's a lot of shade, and you've got a lot of beverage. So you really can't go wrong with those two. I also run the game in Indianapolis on October 12th. Indy's a little farther up the road. It's a good venue. I would lie to you if I told you how good, because I was stuck on the field announcing and running the game all day. I didn't see anything else. So we're over in a field, so I didn't get to really see much else, so I can't really say that. And then the last one was earlier this year, and it's trying to take the place of Glasgow, and it's in Park City. So if you've never been to Park City, don't blink, because you'll go right past it. It's on I-65. It's right past Cave City. Kind of connects up to Mammoth Cave area. If you like to camp or any of those kind of things, be a perfect weekend for that. They have a great little venue set up there. Lots of shade. And you should be able, they put the tents, clan tents are all set up so you're right in front of the athletics. So you see everything all day. Now the downside of that is that my speaker's there and you got to listen to me all day long. That's the worst part of the day. But if you can get past that, you'll be okay. They had a lot of vendors, food. I think they could sell alcohol there. I think that's right. Yeah. Music. Colin Grant Adams. I don't know if you all are familiar with Colin Grant. Good. If y'all weren't, I was going to call y'all liars. Y'all never been to a Highland game in your life, because Colin Grant Adams travels more than I do. That's impressive. But those are the events that I run that I can tell you personally that are good events, especially Park City and Eminence, especially Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee gets a lot of funding, so their stuff it's really nice down there where they have it. Now, I suggest you don't stay in Hendersonville. As Pat told me, they like to move the room rates up quite a bit during that weekend. So I'd stay a little bit farther out, but those are the games I run and do, and that's pretty much in a nutshell my story. If you guys have any questions about the games or any of the events or any of that stuff, I'd be more than happy to
What's
answer.
your favorite event?
My favorite event is
you like doing?
I've got a couple, but one is called the sheaf toss.
Yeah.
So, can I write on this board?
Sure.
All right.
Or height or distance?
So it is for height. So you've got a burlap sack here, and then you've got,
Burlap sack of straw.
well, it's kind of different. So it kind of depends on who you ask. So usually you'll have a burlap sack, and you keep pushing baler twine in that. Now the best way to make these is an old school, I'm gonna get PTSD just talking about it, an old school tobacco press. So when I started out doing tobacco, and I don't know who has done tobacco in here, but we hand tied it. Old school, hand tied it. So over time I was 4 till I was, I think we got that when I was 15 or 16. We had to hand tie tobacco. So then you get a baler press, and it presses all the tobacco down, you make a bale out of it. So that's how we do the burlap sacks. So we'll take the sack, stuff it, get it, and there's 2 different weights. There's a 16, well, a lot more actually. There's a 10 for the women, a 16 for the men, amateurs, and a 20 is what the pros throw. But it's just a sack, and then you got a pitchfork.
Pitchfork.
Yep.
Is that pounds or pounds or kilos?
Oh, definitely pounds.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
what I
we're not
figured.
smart enough to do kilos of it.
Okay.
We're talking about, Scottish athletes. We're not smart enough to do kilos. So you'll stick the fork in the bag, you find wherever you want, and it's just like throwing hay in a barn. So the towers that you have set up here, the bar will be across here, and let's say that's at 20 feet. So I get 3 attempts. I'm standing down here. One more belly. So then I take my pitchfork and I just go back and forth here. I come back and I launch it up, and it goes up and over the bar. If it goes up and over the bar, I continue on to the next round.
Do you keep your feet, your stance on the ground, or you
Well,
actually go
it would
up?
depend. Some guys jump a little bit. Some guys just keep their feet and they block hard and come up. It's all dependent upon their technique.
Okay.
But if the bag goes up above the bar but doesn't go over it, it doesn't count. So it's got to go up and over the bar. So that's one of my favorite events because you all can see it. Whenever I throw a stone or a weight and it goes out and they don't have a marker there, you don't really know where it's going unless you have somebody announcing exactly where it's at. So for the common person just watching, the stuff that goes over, you can see. That's why the caber's so exciting to watch, because people can actually see it going over. But that's probably one of my favorite events, and that is because I said this many, many years ago as I got started. I am no better than a sheepdog. I'm an entertainer. So I found out early on, the more I entertained and talked to the crowd and did other things, the more invites I got, the more people wanted me at their games. So if you're, a crowd favorite, then, hey, I can have a bad day and still be okay because I know how to make fun of myself better than anybody. So the crowd would love that. So that was one of the events here that I would do some shenanigans and different stuff with to get the kind of crowd involved and get you laughing. And that way it's just not a day of watching me just throw over. So. Anything else?
But
Yeah,
what
what was the
socks
other
you
one?
had on that day was usually the,
So that's
the thrill.
Pat, and I'll come back to that one. Pat is asking about the socks. So usually when I first started, your original sock design was black, maybe white. I mean, they were just your normal colors, green. Whatever your kilt color was kind of whatever your socks were. Well, again, I'm trying to entertain here. I'm trying to get people to be like,
Sure.
why is that fat kid wearing those polka dot pink socks? So you're out here doing something very manly, and I've got on polka dot pink socks. So it became a thing that I started, and I do take complete credit for this. I don't care what anybody else says. Where I was just wearing these crazy socks, and I was spending more on my socks than I was anything else. I would get online and look up soccer socks because they would come up to here. So I would just get crazy socks. And at one point, my 10-year-old daughter who played soccer was picking the socks out for me. I let her pick out 2 pair if I was getting 4. Whew, and we had some crazy, I had some unicorns and all kinds of crazy things. But it was, again, another way to entertain. It was another way to, get people to go home and still talk about that guy and those crazy socks and those kind of things. And your question was?
Well, you said you had 2 favorite games.
Games?
Well,
The-
events.
Oh, events, okay. Well, the sheep definitely for one, and then one of the more boring ones, well, it's not really as boring, the hammer, if you've seen the hammer throw. You can see it take off, especially like the light hammer. So it just looks like cannonball on a stick. So if this was gavel, it was about all the way down to the floor, we just come around our head, and it's different than the Olympic hammer. If you've ever watched the Olympics, they can move their feet. Well, the Scottish, you can't do that because it's too dangerous. They did this, I won't get my dates right, but it was 1960s or something like that. And they let a guy use the Olympic hammer spin. And he threw it in a clan tent.
Oh, my goodness.
Nobody got hurt, but so they said, okay, you can't move your feet anymore. So now we'll take, so if I've got my shoe on here, my laces.
Easy soul.
So my shoe or my boot would have this steel piece that comes out of the front of it. And so what I did is I would dig into the ground and I got secure. So then I could lean way back and I could get a bigger orbit and swing it around, and you get more speed and velocity and more power comes through that.
Pivot on that, or?
Well, at the very end, so what I would do is I would dig in and then turn so that my feet could turn a little bit. But you didn't want your feet turning very much because really all of your motion came from your hips and just your upper body. So it was just kind of a round. Then at the end, you would step out and throw. But that's how we did it different, and that's because just safety reasons. They don't want to get anybody killed. Sure. Yes.
I have two. One's the caber, toss the how you score that, what that actual point is, and if you contrast and compare American versus Scottish games.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So the caber is different everywhere you go, and they're a tree. I'm gonna try to not get angry here. I hate cutting capers. It just never fails. Something goes wrong. So Saturday I went out with my grandbabies and my son. We're getting ready to cut capers. And I bet you I pulled on this chainsaw 800 times till it finally started. So always something goes wrong when I'm doing capers. But you go out, you cut a tree, get all the limbs off of it, and then you take the end, the bottom of it, and you want to shape it. So they stand it up. So usually two people will bring it, stand it up. You're standing here, you got your feet V'd out, they bring it up to you, then they leave, okay? Then, I'll try to show you guys as best I can. You've got the caber standing up, and it's usually anywhere from 18 to 20 feet long, okay? And the weights vary. So you might get one that's, if you get one that's 18 feet, it's probably heavier. One that's 20 feet's a little bit lighter. But then you have to place your fingers, and then I work my way down to the bottom, pop it, and then catch it, then balance it. So when you really think about it, I have this much of wood in my hand, and the rest is above me. So you've got to really have a lot of core strength so you can kind of brace it. And usually got to do a little dance with it. Then you want to get it going. So we want to get the top of the caber moving, okay? So once you get that moving, because like everybody thinks that once you throw the caber, let's say the top is here, and here's the bottom part, and let's say it lands like this, with the top here and the bottom here. Well, that throw doesn't even count, okay? So this caber has to flip.
It has to fly.
Yep. So the bottom part has to be up here, and the top part has to be down here. So when it leaves my hand, it's actually got to make a 90-degree rotation. There's the fun part that comes in. So when that caber lands, the judge behind me marks it. So if I throw that caber and it lands directly in front of me, that's a perfect toss. That's what you want. See, 98 to 2019, yeah, 2019 was the last. 312s one time my entire life, once. So now I don't really count my amateur stuff because they were smaller sticks and they were easier. But as a professional, I think I turned 312s once. I think it was in Chicago. But that's the perfect throw. So if I get a 12 and Steve throws, and Steve gets a 1, okay? Then we come back and I throw again. Oops, I messed up. I got a 2. It landed over in 2 o'clock position.
Not only just the distance, but that.
It's no distance at all. There's zero distance. Like you don't want any. Actually, you want this thing to not travel because you want it to flip. Yes. So if Steve has got, if I've got a 12 and he's got a 12, and I have a 2, and a 1, and Steve comes and hits an 11 and an 11, we'll say 15, he wins. So whatever's closest to 12, okay? That's how it's judged.
Second question.
Yeah.
Well, at one single event, does everybody use that same hole?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the other beauty of the Highland Games is it doesn't matter, everybody's using it, unless it breaks and then you go to another one, but that's a whole other set of rules. But everyone has to use that same caper. So the better you are at this event, the better off you are.
So who's the athletic director of a particular game? Is he responsible for going out and cutting the trees?
Maybe this sucker right here. Well, I hate doing it. So I have to go and get all the trees to do that, and then I have to judge with, like right now we have a very weak class of amateur athletes. And so if these are too big, then you all are gonna sit there and just watch doink, doink, doink all day long. And it becomes very boring. So really the perfect caper is one that only 1 or 2 in that whole class can turn. That's a perfect caper. Because if everybody's turning it, it's too easy. And if nobody turns it, it's too hard or they suck. I don't know which one it is. Second question was Scotland.
Compare.
Oh, gosh. Night and day. Theirs are State Fair. Is it still going on or is it finished? Okay.
Sunday.
So if you went to the State Fair, that's going to Scotland in a game, but a smaller version, like a county fair. So I was shocked. Now listen, this old country boy hadn't been out of Gordon Neck, Kentucky very much, and when I'm on a train in Scotland thinking there's no way I'm gonna make this over here, it's almost like I was in Kentucky again. Scotland looks dead on Kentucky. I mean, the rolling hills, the farmland, really does. So when I got over there,
Just a lot of sheep.
well, more sheep, yes. Up north, more cattle down south and more sheep up north. So when I got there and we went to the game, I looked around, I'm like, where are we at? They are running races. These teenagers are running races. Has anybody here been to Grandfather Mountain?
Yes.
Okay. A lot similar to Grandfather Mountain, except we're missing a Ferris wheel. I don't see a slip and slide. It's a big fair. Like it looks like just a big county fair, and then the Highland Games are shoved into it, but it's not. That's how they do their games. It's so weird. The other thing that's disappointing about being over there is that everywhere you look, every creek bed. Now this is a athlete thing and it's a weird thing, but if I see a perfectly round stone that looks like it's 16 pounds, I get like goosebumps and, it's almost like I just see my first true love. I mean, it's a very weird obsession. So over there, they're everywhere, everywhere. But you throw a shot put. You do not throw stones in Scotland. You throw a shot put. For me, I wasn't a track and field athlete. So, and you guys won't know this, but a shot put is only about this size.
Yep.
A stone can be here so I can get that big mitt on it. Well, when I put that little bitty shot in my hand, I've got to keep my fingers closed because when you go to throw, this middle finger here loves to come back to here, which is not fun. So the shot put, I was terrible at because I just couldn't get my hand on it like I needed to. So they throw shots. The other thing is we throw in a trig. So this is your piece of block or wood up here. It's 4'6" across, and then this is 9 feet here. And you're supposed to keep at least 1 foot in the entire time. Over there, it's more track and field. They have a circle. And that circle for throwing shot, to me, looked about, that size. So I'm in there and I just felt cramped. And when you're a thrower, your feet are your most important thing and your visual perception. So getting in the circle, I was already like claustrophobic. So throwing in Scotland to me, I loved it because we're in Scotland. The other problem that I had over there was I left football practice at Bethlehem High School in August. It was 100 and heat index was 111. I get to Scotland and I am in jogging pants and sweatshirt at night, freezing. It was like 40 degrees or something, and then the days never got very warm. So much. I love the heat. Like, I'm mad we didn't have a hotter summer. So I know I'm crazy, but you got to think about it. I worked in the heat my entire life. That's, I'm just used to that, and it's paid off a lot because a lot of times people I'll be competing against they'll melt. Like they can't stand it. Well, I was the opposite there. I was frigid, and it never got over 75 degrees, and a trickle of rain everywhere you went. So, they talk about good Scottish weather, that's the truth. Yet, it rained every single day. We was over there for the 10 days. But again, without that, thanks to you all, I wouldn't have seen all that and done all that. And coming from the family I came from, now, of course, my grandmother was impressed by nothing. It doesn't matter what I did. She was impressed by nothing. But my mom and my uncles thought it was really cool that I got to go to Scotland when they barely left the state. So it was a great opportunity for me to go over there and see that. And I can tell you all the differences, at where you're throwing and what you're doing from there to here. So it is a big difference. What else? Oh, and no sheaf. There's no sheaf in Scotland. Sheaf is a completely Americanized event.
Really?
Yes, there's no sheaf.
Sheep toss. Okay.
Sir?
Is that the extent of the different events?
No, sir. I'll go over those real quick for you. You got your Claxon art? Well, I'll start with the Braemar. The Braemar stone is a stone. It's a 22-pound stone. You're not able to move. You just have to hear and throw. And then they measure where it hits, not where it rolls, because that's always a question. So wherever it hits, they've got a marker out there, and wherever it hits first, they go out and mark it. Second event is your open stone, which looks like the shot put. So you can use whatever technique you want, but you only get 7.5 feet to do that in. You don't get the full 9 feet on that one. So you can spin, you can glide, you can shuffle, whatever you want to do to get the momentum of the stone so you can throw it farther. The next one is the 56 for distance, which was one of my favorite events because most kids couldn't do it. They had a really hard time with it. I am bottom heavy, so that event was better for me because you got to sink down on the weight when you're throwing it, so that just worked out better for me. Throw it with one hand, and then you get your 9 feet. The next one is a 28-pound weight. Similar, but the technique's a little different on it. Then the hammer, I explained to you guys, the Scottish hammer. There's two of those. There's a 22 and a 16. Then you got the caper, which is the most famous event, your sheaf toss, and then your last one is what we call weight over bar, and it's a block weight with only one chain link in it. The 56 for distance has 3 chain links. That way, it's longer, so we'll go farther. The weight over bar is only one link, and you usually stand, you can spin, but so it's the same premise as the sheaf. So I'll stand here, throw it up and over the bar. No, I've not been hit in the head.
I was gonna say, you have to move real quick.
No. Now, you will see a lot of times these guys will throw, or girls, and they'll throw and they'll kind of step back into it, but they'll get out of the way usually in time. Or there is another technique you can use with that. That's a spin technique that I like quite a bit also. But so those are your 9 events that they have, for the games. And every now and then you'll see them throw in some extra stuff. Challenge caber for money, farmer's walk for money. A lot of different games will do that, but that's the gist of
How
it.
do you prepare your body for this? What, weightlifting or?
Do it.
Just do it.
Well, weightlifting is a big part of it. So your off season, you ready your body with weights because it's the winter time. You're not getting out throwing much. So you want to get strong, but that's only a very minute part of it. your explosiveness. So you've got to be, there has to be some kind of explosiveness, like you've got to have some pop, like you got to go. So those two are really important, but not near as important as your feet, your footwork. So there's certain spots, and I'll try to give you guys a quick overlay here, but if I'm throwing the weight, cast the weight, I come around, and then you pop around, and then you do that again to get momentum of the weight so you can throw it. You have to have really good body awareness. Like when that weight, that 56-pound weight goes out here, if I don't have good body awareness to know that I'm going to countersink and come back, it's going to take me with it. And you'll see a lot of people do that. That's why you'll go to a game and you'll recognize people that are good and people that are bad real fast. Because you'll see the people that are bad, they're stumbling, they're moving all around, you think they're going to fall. And the people that are good, you'll see them step, 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 throw. So it's just a big difference in that. Yes?
Do the athletes that participate, do they tend to participate in all the events or just have one or two specialties or?
A little bit of a loaded question. And that's only in my mind, not anybody else's. You need to compete in all the events. Like when you sign up, you're signing up to do every event we're going to do that day. Because if you don't, there's no way you win the overall athlete a day. Because you're going to miss an event. So we do it on a point system. So let's say that, you know, if I won every event, I get a 1 for every event. At the end of the day, I've got 9 points. Well, if I skip an event, then somebody that maybe, well, it'd be possible mathematically like that. But let's say that, you know, I took second in an event, first in one, third in another, first in another, second in one, and then didn't do an event. Well, I get no score. Or you're going to get a score, but it's going to be last. So if there's 10 competitors, I'd get a 10 there. So it's however how many competitors we have is the way we do our numbering system. And a lot of people will do it different. They'll do it backwards. They'll do 10 points for the win and, you know, so forth and so on. But you don't have a chance to win the overall if you don't do all the events. It also, from a standpoint of manliness, you don't want to, you know, or girliness, you do not want to skip an event unless you're injured or hurt. Then that's totally understandable. But we do have people that kind of specialize in stuff, like are really good at stuff. You know, my worst event was a stone, and then the rest of my events, I tried to have them all evened out. Ron Vieira, guy from California, when I first started, he was at the Glasgow Games almost every year. And Ryan was about this tall. And Ryan was built like SpongeBob SquarePants, just like I am. And he was a 5-time world champion. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, why not? He's not 6'3", 340 pounds. I was usually, and in my time, I was about, my highest weight was about 310. I was never, ever the biggest guy ever on the field. I was always the smallest guy. And Pat will tell you, she would look out there and see me amongst giants. But I was so consistent with each event that normally I was always in that top 3. Because I learned from Ryan Vieira, that's how you do it. Like Ryan was just good at everything. And so I took that approach because I didn't care about being good at one event. I wanted to be good at every one of them. So at the end of the day, and when you're a pro, you make a lot more money winning than you do losing. Yes?
One more question.
Sure.
I know the games and all that, but some of the history of why the games got started for strength in the clans and
Yes.
stuff, because they couldn't do other things.
Yes.
Like fight amongst one another. And
So
all
they
that.
would use these events, not all these, but certain events, and that's how they would pick their best warriors.
Yeah.
That's how they pick their warriors out of the clan. Now, some of the events, and then you'd have to go back and look, certain historians will say yes, some will say no, but some of the events that they use today were used to fight off the British. The hammer, for one. They would line themselves along a ridge, and then they would chuck these hammers off onto them, because at that point in time, I believe, they were not allowed, they couldn't have cannons or weapons or any of that stuff. So they used a lot of this stuff as warring instruments.
Yeah, and another thing that they used was the bull. where they get like 6 or 8, and they, for strength, and they,
Going back to her question,
yeah,
tug of war.
tug of war.
Tug of war is, it's like the NFL over here. I've never seen anything like it in my life. These guys are all in uniform. They're all dressed. They've got coaches. They're screaming. They're yelling. It was impressive. Every game we went to when I was in Scotland, I think I did 8. Every single game had a tug of war, and it was intense. Like, it ain't like watching just a couple guys that are, no, it was 8 to 10 guys on a team, and it was serious. I mean, it was crazy.
It's fun to watch too, because they
Very fun because there's a lot of strategy. And if you watch, you start to figure out the strategy. It was impressive.
And that anchor man is almost like the captain of the team.
Yes, he is. And you've got an actual coach screaming and yelling at them the whole time. while they're doing
When
it.
to pull,
Yeah.
when to lag, when to pull, and all
Yes.
that. This is a
So
lot of
tug
fun.
of war, they would hold, and then they would rest on the hold, and then make a big push. Yeah, it was impressive to watch. But no, that's exactly right. The games were actually built to find out who your best warriors in the clan, who's going to protect the clan. And then they used, like I said, some of the other stuff against other clans, but the British also just to evade them off. So, yes.
All right, this isn't a question, but it's a comment. Back in the last century, when I was president, I got this brilliant idea that we should form a scholarship fund. So I got Colin Grant Adams to come up. He and Julia stayed in my basement, and we put on a Kaylee at a place which is now Mama's Pickles and Barbecue, but it was Kitty O'Kern's at the time. And we raised our first money for our scholarship. So I want to tell you that Kerry was the first recipient of any money that we received. And this is something that I felt very strong about as far as us giving back to the Scottish community. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much
for continuing on.
Well, I would have never thought I'd be continuing on this long, and I surely didn't think I would be standing in front of you all, giving you all this information about Scottish Highland Games. But here we are, Pat.
Here we are, still.
So, anything else, Kerry?
Nothing else, no more questions?
Well,
Thank you all.